Hello everybody, this is General Yanis, and today in Death Card Tactics I'm looking at the Las Vegas Open and the status of competitive 40k. So the Las Vegas Open, one of the biggest tournaments around, and how did the Death Guard and Thousand Suns fare, and should we bring out the salt even before chapter approved 2022. So let's get started. So today, last day of January, the 31st of January, tomorrow I'm having a match versus a friend's Thousand Suns. So I will be we're using a Demon Engine Death Card list versus the Thousand Suns. So we're practicing for a tournament. It will be really fun to have these armies meet, but I'm a bit worried, of course, of all the mortal wounds the Thousand Suns can do. In this video, as I said, I have been looking at the stats from the Las Vegas Open, and I mean Las Vegas is a fantastic town. I've been there for holiday a couple of times, but I haven't played, of course, Warhammer there. And just looking at these pictures looks amazing with all these hobbyists gathering for the what could be the World Championship or the US Championship of Warhammer. So I'm going to be looking at the results and some of the stats, looking at the faction win rates, and then focusing a bit on death card situation and then the Thousand Suns situation. So before I start, as always, a very big thanks to my patrons and all of you supporting the channel, subscribing, commenting, liking the videos. Thanks to all of you. But let's look now at the Las Vegas Open. So just a few words on the analysis. I manually went through the results from the Best Coast pairings app. So errors might have happened. I was scrolling around 700 of the players and their rankings and looking at their win ratios, etc. I might have done some errors here and there, but all in all, I think the picture of the results is quite clear anyway. So we had around 700 players that played 6 matches each. Some people played only less matches. I tried to disregard those results. The Las Vegas Open used the chapter approved 2021 rules and the points, and no changes yet from the 2022 point update. So this is also a situation of what is the game just before we do the quote unquote balance of the points of 2022. To make the analysis a bit easier, I grouped certain factions together. I took all the Space Marine factions in one big lump. So, for example, Ultramarines or Black Templars or Dark Angels, Death Watch, etc. I just bunched them together. Eldar factions, again, like Craft World and Asuryani or whatever, Harlequins, they are just grouped in Eldari. I put Chaos Knights and Imperial Knights in one group. There was not so many Chaos Knights army lists, and of course there are some lists with mixed Chaos, mixed Imperium, Demons, Death Guard, wherever. I try to do my best to put them in a category. So let's look at the number of players for each faction. So here we can see the faction representation, and we see that bunching the Space Marines in one, let's say, big lump, it was the biggest number of players, the highest number of players, over 120 players with Space Marines. And then Tyranids, Custodes, and Drukhari were the 3 most represented armies, a bit indicating where the meta is going, let's say. Orcs, also a nice showing, and the Grey Knights. And then we have Death Guard, with around 40 players here, and then Thousand Suns, not as many as Death Guard, but around 30 players with Thousand Suns. So this was a bit the representation of the different factions. So when all the 6 games were played, so let's look at the factions that achieved the best records, and we see we had 10 lists that went undefeated in the tournament, so 6 wins and no losses of the games. And here we see that Tyranids achieved these three lists. Went undefeated, 3 Drukhari went undefeated, and then 1 Custodes, 1 Adeptus Mechanicus, 1 Grey Knight, and 1 Orcs. So really a big achievement, of course, to go undefeated in such a big tournament. But as we can see here, no Chaos players, no Chaos list, nor Space Marines, not some of the other factions not represented here. And we see a very strong representation of Tyranids, Drukhari in the undefeated spots. If we look at the players that achieved 5 wins and 1 loss. Still a huge result, of course, in these big tournament events. And of course, with the rankings, as you go along in the tournament, you will be facing better and better players. Not very easy to pull off 5 wins and 1 loss. I think here we can see really high number of Tyranids. I also included here as Tyranids some of the lists that were combining Tyranids and the Gene Stealers. And we see also Drukhari and the Custodes, the 3 major, let's say, some of the best lists right now. And then we have Grey Knights, and here we finally get 2,000 Suns lists and 2 Death Guard players achieved a 5-1 result. So really strong going, but not many factions can manage this. For example, Chaos Space Marines didn't get a 5-1 result, and you see a very high representation of Tyranids, Drukhari, and Custodes in this summary here. Looking at all the faction win ratios, we see here that Tyranids and Drukhari had the highest win ratio, about 62%, 63% win rates, and here you see the 50-50 line. Here the axis is cut from 30% to 70% win ratio, and in an ideal world, every faction would have around 50%, but we see here Tyranids and Drukhari over 60%, this unhealthy, let's say, win ratio for the game. Also here, Custodes, the new Custodes with the new codex at 60% win ratio, almost 59 here, 58, 59, and this is before the point cuts that they received in chapter of 2022. So that doesn't seem really balancing to get such a strong army and give them point cuts in a lot of the units. Doesn't make sense, Games Workshops. Orcs and Grey Knights, a good showing here. Here we also see some Gene Stealers achieving quite good results actually. And then unfortunately, when we see here Death Guard overall are almost at the bottom with a win ratio well below 50%, around 42% win rate, and this is even before we get the point hikes for the Terminators and the Poxwalkers. So not Death Guard by no means let's say the strongest faction. Space Marines a bit higher here, but of course Space Marines, since I lumped everything together, of course some of the chapters are better than others. When we look at the Thousand Suns, they have a newer codex than Death Guard, a bit better placed, but nothing super good result here, around 45% win ratio, not the major contenders. And I think a lot of the armies that are set now to receive nerfs in the chapter approved 2022, for example, Sisters getting some bad rules, etc. I mean, the Sisters and Death Guard, etc. are not in a super good spot. I mean, ideally we will need a boost, not a nerf. And the Custodes don't need a boost, and the Drukhari and Tyranids need to be a little bit brought back if you really want to have a balanced game. Focusing a little bit more on the Death Guard results, the best player of Death Guard managed to get a spot number 36 out of the around 700 players or more here, and then the other lists were at spot 59, 132, 46, and 62. And the best, let's say, the list that made it to the 36 spot is Michael Hooper's, and he used the Mortarian's Anvil list, and he managed the 5-1 win-loss ratio here. His list, as I said, Mortarian's Anvil, and the HQ was Lord of Contagion with a Plaguecaster. In the troops, he used Cultists and 2 Poxwalkers. In the elite slot, he used 2 Volkite Contemptors, 2x3 Death Shroud, which is basically why you need 2 Poxwalkers and 1 Cultist to make the troops going, and then Foul Blightspawn and the Taliman, the 2 best Virion, very strong combo. The Taliman, very strong combo with the Volkite Contemptors, 2 Furtive Blow Drones with Mowers, and then 3 Plague Scrollers with Entropy Cannon. And looking at this list with the new upcoming point updates, the Volkites will go up, the Death Shroud will go up, the Poxwalkers will go up, the Foul Blightspawn will go up. Thankfully, the Plague Scroller goes a bit down, but this whole list would be 65 points higher going forward. Some of the other lists here, the list that came second also of the death card list, with a 5-1 record. This has 3 Volkite Contemptors, 3 Plaguebearer Scrollers, the Death Shroud, Fireblightspawn Talisman, very similar here, Poxwalkers and Cultists for the troops, and Lord of Contagion and Demon Prince. So the two, let's say, best placed death card lists here had quite similar lists, and they will be both going up in points. 132, I think, was a bit strange list, and then in the fourth list or third list here had a 4-2 result. Sorcerer, this was a bit different. Sorcerer, Lord of Contagion, and then 3 squads of Plague Marines with Dreadclaw drop pods. So interesting to get them ahead on the field quickly. But we see again 3 Volkite Contemptors, 2 Plaguebearer Scrollers, and again the Talisman and Foulblightspawn combination. In number 162, Don Huson's list, strong showing again, 4 wins, 2 losses. Don took his Demon Engine and Epidemius, and this list would go down 35 points. He had also Volkite Contemptors, but he had a lot of Mephitic Blightholders and Plaguebearer Scrollers, so his list will be a bit improved going forward. So yeah, Demon Engines and Epidemius seem like a way to go forward with his point updates. But here we can see, let's say, the results. Let's say the 5-1 wins, 4-2 wins, and then how many players did achieve that. There was a lot of death card players that managed to win only 2 times and had a lot of losses. And I think to get a 5-1 and a 4-2 result and a 3-3 even with death card in this tournament setting, I think is really strong. So very big, strong kudos to all the death card players here. Then looking at the Thousand Suns, had their best list placed at number 15 out of the 700, and then also getting the 5 next points coming down a bit. As we saw in the results, not severely higher win ratio compared to Death Card, but a bit less, let's say, less lists of Thousand Suns that did that lost a lot, but not many that achieved a better result than the Death Card to get 5-1, 4-2, and 3-3 ratios. The best Thousand Suns list was a Duplicity and Magic cult mix that achieved a 5-1. And then here we have in the HQ Ahriman, Infernal Master, and Exalted Sorcerer. The Exalted Sorcerer was in the Magic Cult of Magic detachment. And then in the troops, we see 4 times 5 rubrics with Flamers, a bit Changors, and then in the elite slot, 2 Volkite Contemptors and a big unit of Scaraboccal Terminators, and then a Chaos Spawn for the fast attack. With the point changes, this list would go up 40 points due to the Volkite Contemptors and not allowed to mix Duplicity and Magic going forward, but mostly unchanged list. But okay, 40 points would also hurt on this list. The second best placed Thousand Suns list was a pure Duplicity, also achieving a 5-1 win ratio here. Here we had 2 Exalted Sorcerers, Infernal Master, and then we have 5 times 5 rubrics, 2 times 10 Scarabs, and then 9 Chaos Spawn. So a lot of the first 2 lists had a lot of rubrics and Scarabs and Chaos Spawn. And the third place Thousand Suns list, also a pure Duplicity detachment with 2 Exalted Sorcerers, 2 Sorters, again 4 times 5 rubrics, so a lot of minimum size rubrics to do actions and take objectives, etc. I would assume. Here we had a lot of Changors, Scaraboccal Terminators, also Changor Enlightened, and some Rhinos. So this was a bit different, but again, placed, let's say, in hundreds and in the 100 rank or lower. So not many Thousand Suns and Death Card list in the top, let's say, 20 or 30 or 50. So summary and final thoughts. I think the Las Vegas Open, using all the currently chapter approved 2021 rules, showed right now the strongest factions are the Tyranids, the Drukhari, and the Custodes, that all achieved around 60% win ratios and had most of their list undefeated and really highly represented in the list where they had 5 wins or higher. Death Guard only achieved a win ratio 42%, and this is even before we get the point increases for our Terminators, the Poxwalkers and also the Volkite Contemptors. The best placed list combined the Volkite Contemptors, the Plague Scrollers, the Death Shroud, and then the cheap troops with Cultists and Poxwalkers, also Volkite Contemptors, of course, and the Foul Blight Spawn and Taliman. The Demon Engine lists also did okay. Don Huson managed to score quite well, and this list will be cheaper going forwards. The Thousand Suns didn't do much better, just a win ratio of around 45%. The no points going forward to the chapter approved 2022, apart from the Volkite Contemptors, and it seemed like the best placed lists used multiple small units of rubrics, one big unit or two big units of Scarabagal Terminators, and some spawn seemed to be, let's say, the best mix here. I think looking at the win ratios for the different factions, their rules, etc., there is no much reasoning behind the balance points upcoming of chapter approved 2022, and hopefully the balance slate of February will address some of these issues. Hopefully the poorly seemed balance of the points for chapter approved 2022 were due to that the rules were written well in advance to be printed. Hopefully with a digital release in February with a balanced slate, we can come a bit and make 40k a bit more balanced game. Finally, big kudos to all the Death Guard and Thousand Suns players that despite, let's say, rough odds and not the best rules, managed and fought and did their best. Big kudos to all of you. Not just jumping and taking Drukhari or Crush Stampede Tyranids for the win, but going for Papa Nurgle and Chinch fighting the Battle of Chaos. So with these words, this concludes the video. What do you think about this analysis? Let me know if you have spotted something interesting from the result. I would like now, I think if I have time, I'll try to go through the Death Guard and Thousand Sun matchups for these players to see exactly who did they face and how was our win ratio Death Guard versus others. But it doesn't look very good just looking at the global win ratios. So as I said, please leave me some comments. What do you think? And hopefully, if you have some list ideas for the new points and what do you think about the changes to the game. So with these words, if you like this video, please press like and subscribe. You can visit my Patreon page here, take part of the documents and discussion there. And with these words, General Yanis is signing out. Stay safe out there, and bye-bye.